But the breakthrough that I just came to this moment is that I think that's how personal brands feel when they start a personal brand.
I talked to him about it. I was like, what's going on? Why do you lack confidence sometimes in like sharing your truth? Because you'll have these brilliancies, I call them.
I can always tell when he's like fully in it versus he's trying. And I'm sure like people can tell with me too.
Yeah, like we call it like he's trying to be Michael Brody-Waite versus being Michael Brody-Waite.
Just not trying to do anything.
Right. And people that know him like you and I do know him really well and have seen his personality from, you know, every angle. We can spot those moments.
But I think even if you're seeing him for the first time, you can still tell. It's something like our human brains are so advanced that we can spot that shit so easily, even when we're watching somebody on YouTube. And I think that's why authenticity is such key in building a personal brand, because when you watch a YouTube video, you can tell like immediately if that person is fake or not.
Yeah.
For some reason.
That's actually, no, you're right. Like
we can tell even more if we know the person, like Michael.
If you know the person. Yeah. But I was asking him about it. I was like, why do you do that? Because he is such a passionate like he's got some things that he's like 100% on and he's not going to waver, but there are other things that he kind of
why are those times where he loses that confidence? That's what you're asking him, basically.
Yeah.
How come those times you're losing that confidence?
Right. And so why do you waver? Why do you give the other person like leeway to think anything else if you truly believe this message? And what's got all this going is that he had a video that's gone viral for us in terms of speaking his truth. And I was like, so why that one? And he was like, you know, it's because I know I 100% believe that. Like I 100% believe whatever I'm saying. If I 100% believe it and can, you know, argue my point and know that I'm right, then I'm very confident in it. If I feel like there may be some other ways, or there's like
some holes.
There's some holes, or like that other people could feel differently, then I start to like back off of it. And then that's when it came up, like the whole, just to circle back around, like the whole truth, the truth can change. Like your truth can be like, it can evolve. No one cares enough to go back.
Let's back up a little bit. So what he said on the TED Talk, obviously he 100% believes it.
Yeah.
But let's say 5 years later, his perspective has shifted a little bit. Maybe there are certain things that he might not, like maybe he agrees with it for the most part, but there's still certain things that he feels a little differently about, or something like that.
And there are things in the TED Talk that have shifted.
Because that happens to me all the time too. And I think that's why we lose confidence. Because I remember when I was like in my 20s, I was so cocky. I thought I was the shit. And then
you were. I have no doubt that you
were. And then as I get older, people lose that, right? People start to lose like confidence in themselves. And I think it's because as I got older, I realized that some of the shit that I was so convicted on actually turned out to be wrong. And once that happens a few times, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't talk, right? Like maybe I shouldn't say anything. And but yeah, I'm actually like recently struggling with the same thing, because I'm saying all this shit all the time, you know, to people. Yeah. And then sometimes people like, you know, come back with a good point, right? I'm like, oh shit, like you got a point there. But
yeah,
I actually think it's now I'm trying to get to be at a place where my ego and my identity is not so tied to that idea that if my idea changes or if I'm wrong, I can easily admit that, oh fuck, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I changed my mind. And
like, and what's wrong with that? Like, for some reason, I feel like we see that as myself included, like
that's
as
probably
a negative.
That's probably part of the reason. That's probably so closely connected with the mask that we wear, because like, let me give you a perfect example, right? Like my family is hardcore Christian. Like my entire family is hardcore Christian. I'm the only one that's not. And
wow. I've learned something new about you.
Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah,
my mom is like a conductor of like she leads the church choir. My sister plays like the piano for church.
Wow.
And like they go every week. And so what I realized is that, so back then I used to always, every time I go home, I would have this argument with them. Like, cause they're like, are you going to church, son? I'm like, no. And it's like, if we go into this argument of like why I don't believe in it and why I don't go to church, and you know, and but the thing is, my mom is smart. Like she has a PhD. My sister is very smart too. But I'm just like, why can't I have, and I'm not saying that I'm right either. Maybe I'm wrong and they're right, right? But why can't they have, because whenever we talk about that topic, the logic just goes out the window. And it just becomes like this emotional argument, right? But I think the reason why is because she's so tied to that identity of like being like, I'm a Christian, that's who I am. And if I admit that I was wrong, my entire identity is thrown out the window. Like, like my entire life has been wasted because this is what I've been saying my whole life. And I think that's what people are really afraid of.
I really like that. I think you've put into words like something that I like completely agree with. Like it's the it's not the point. It's not the point anymore, especially when it becomes emotional. Like it is your identity. And it's even if your mom didn't say like, I'm wrong, even giving you an inch, like of saying like, well, maybe let's agree to disagree, probably still feels like her saying she's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that
it's hurting her ego, like real
her ego.
Like it's breaking down everything about her. And that's why I think ego is so important. Like ego plays such a huge part of wearing that mask. Because I used to be like I used to have that. And I think like when those people that are saying, oh, I'm so authentic, I don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. That's an ego too. That's like, I'm wearing an identity of, I don't care what people think of me, right?
Yeah. And authenticity does not equal be an asshole. Like that's not what that means.
People use that as an excuse, like, I'm just trying to be honest.
Like, yeah, shut up. Like, no, no. Like that's not how it works. Like, and people use that as like the get out of jail free card all the time. It's like, well, I was just giving my opinion. Yeah, well, you were malicious and
I think
rude.
I actually think that like this is why I love having these conversations with you, because I get like my biggest breakthrough ideas whenever we talk, and that's actually the reason why I wanted to do this podcast with you.
Wow.
Because we used to always we would go on a Zoom to talk about project or talk about work, and then we end up having all this other conversation for 2 hours.
They're like, hey, we got 15 minutes. Can we go through?
We got to do work now.
I've got some stuff that we actually need to do.
But the breakthrough that I just came to this moment is that I think that's how personal brands feel when they start a personal brand. And let's say I've staked my ground on the idea that, wearing a mask is wrong and all of like, this is my identity. I built my entire brand and business around it. Or let's say somebody is like a pastor and they've literally built their entire career on it, right? By admitting that they were wrong and letting go of that ego and just being authentic, even if they have that little bit of feeling that like, oh, maybe I might be wrong, right? What's happening is they literally have to change career, right? They literally have to like, you know, like their entire like source of revenue is gone. I think that's how they think of it. But the reality is in a true, if you really built your personal brand the right way, people are not following you because of that idea. People are following you because of you as a person. And you can keep changing idea. They're still on board because like how Gary Vee used to talk about hustle all the time, working 18 hours a day all the time. And now he doesn't talk about that anymore. He changed his mind on that. People still love him. Like, because they weren't following him because of that idea.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And they built a connection with Gary. Like they feel connected to Gary. And he represents a human. Like humans change their mind. Like I can see myself in Gary because I change my mind.
It's not like you're gonna love, you know, it's not like you're gonna love Michael less if he changes his mind. Right? Like
right.
And that's
I
the
might
same
be
thing.
Like, hey, dude, I'm gonna have to go back and change all this shit. I have to go rewrite all this copy. Whatever. But yeah, I'm not gonna love him less.
Yeah. And just like if you build a true following, like if you build an audience that truly loves you for you, they don't give a shit if you change your mind.
Right. And that's why I think it's so important to build true connection.